Welcome. My name is Steve Stein, founder of Better Listen, Wisdom Feed, and this is part of our Wisdom Feed Plus Wise Guides in Residence program. And this semester, we're very excited that we've had Thomas Moore kind of chiming in on the monthly theme. So welcome to May, welcome to Spring Wisdom in the emerging and appearing and reappearing. Maybe it's even reimagining. You get a chance to reimagine things differently now that we're moving even closer to the sunnier times. So welcome, Thomas Moore. Great to have you here.
Thank you, Steve. I'm really happy to be with you today.
Excellent, excellent. We're recording this one a little bit in advance. So at the end of the last one, you spoke about the robins, like, in the, and it happens here, we're in New Jersey, we have a little bit of land. And I especially remember it 2 years ago. It happened this year, but 2 years ago, we had a late snow and it was like, bleak, long winter, so to speak, with a lot of snow. Then all of a sudden, you're just going through it, and there were these two robins in the white snow. And it was a sign that, whew, my God, there's light at the end of the tunnel. So light at the end of the tunnel, I think that's part of May. Maybe it is the light at the end of the tunnel. So what do you have to say about emerging or reappearing or kind of celebrating the spring?
Well, what strikes me about it is that I'm reminded of things that our friend James Hillman wrote about beauty. He wrote a lot about beauty. He was following one of the great teachers of soul probably the earliest teacher of soul was Plotinus, a teacher in the 3rd century. And his book on the soul, it's called the Aeneads, is almost all about beauty. And for the Greeks, beauty was Aphrodite, or the Roman Venus. And this is a god or a goddess that we in our world have great trouble with. We don't appreciate Venus and Aphrodite nearly enough. I always feel that the path or the portal to a soulful world would be through Venus, through Aphrodite, through beauty and sensuality and sexuality as well. So that's what this brings up to me with spring. And in fact, it reminds me, just thought of it, one of the great paintings about this idea of Venus being at the center of life is by Botticelli, and it's called La Primavera, which means spring or springtime. And the goddess Venus is right at the center of this painting. It's a very popular painting. Most people, I'm sure, have seen it. The goddess is in the middle, the 3 graces are dancing on the side. Mercury is off in the corner, pointing as one to the clouds. And the winds on the other side of the painting are blowing in springtime. But it's meant to be, Mercury's over there to say that this is not just about literal spring. It's about the springtime of our lives and how spring comes in, even when we think things are really bad and dull and dark. Spring appears with its beauty. And one of the figures in the painting is Flora, who is bringing flowers to the world. That's her job. Flora, flower, is bring the flowers into the world, into the springtime. That painting was not meant to be about literal nature. Almost all commentators think that. It was meant to be a metaphor for human life, that we have our own spring. We have it over and over again in our lives. And it's one important aspect of it is the appearance of the flowers. One study was done just to count and list all the flowers that are on the gowns of this figure, Flora, in the painting, all the different varieties of flowers in her gown. So it's about just seeing this aspect. And I feel that one of the things I picked up from my studies of the religions and working with Hillman and others, Jung as well, is to appreciate the surfaces and the appearances, to not just talk about the great concepts and the great plans we have, how we're moving into the future and more machines, but to appreciate the essentiality of the world that we live in. And I think that's something that is important in May, that we rediscover our sensuality.
Wow. Kind of let your hair down and then kind of walk barefoot, or I'm
Yeah,
just reading into it,
exactly.
but getting
Yes.
in touch with nature. Now, that was just so it wasn't literal, the painting, but it was about spring. And what were the three graces?
You mean who were they? Each one?
Yeah, or who, what,
Well,
where? I never heard that term.
they always have different names, but that particular painting, what I've picked up is that the art historians think that one is beauty, one is pleasure, and the other is restraint.
Restraint.
Yeah. So one dances in pleasure, the other, they're all dancing, the three dance together. So one's dancing in pleasure, one's dancing for beauty, and the other is dancing for restraint, because they feel that there has to be some restraint on all of this in order to keep it within human context. So it's not just like doing nothing but lying out in the grass in the spring, but maybe spending an hour lying in the grass, but not the whole day. Some
Right.
restraint, some restraint that pulls it back into a human context so that other things can go on as well at the same time. And what's really interesting, if it isn't too particular in this painting, but off to the side, the far left side is Mercury. And you see him with a wand. He was known as Hermes in the Greek world. And he has this wand and it's pointing to clouds. One way this has been interpreted is that the job of Mercury is to take this natural scene of flowers and springtime and take it to a higher level of reflection, to a more spiritual level or a more reflective level. So
Did you say he has a wand?
He has a wand. Yeah, that he's a magician, in a way. So he has a wand and he can make things shift, and he can take this experience that we have of nature and help us reflect on it as the way life is. We're looking at this now. Instead of just taking in the sensuality of it, you also realize that this is life. This is my whole life, and I have to learn these lessons of life. And that's what Mercury does. He takes it to another level.
Wow. So I've never thought of graces as a noun. I thought it was like you live with grace,
Yes.
But so graces, they were like nymphs. I don't have a right terminology.
Yeah, nymph is a perfect name for them. But what that means is that they are, what a nymph is. I'll see if I can convey this to you. If you, and let's say around your home, or if you go for a walk, and let's say you go to a little stream that's by your house, and you're drawn to it, and you like to just stand there. Why do you want to just sit or stand by that spring? Because you want to take in its spirit, because of what it is. It's not just a literal thing. It has, you catch a certain spirit when you're there that you like and enjoy and maybe need. And you may go back to that spring as a special place in order to eat up some of that spirit that you feel there. Now, if you go to the ocean, there's a spirit there too, but it's really different. You feel different. You get something else from that. You don't get the same thing you get from a spring. You get something else. And so traditional peoples have called that spirit that you sense in a place, they call those nymphs. They kind of embody that, give body to that spirit. So they picture that spirit as these nymphs.
Is that like a sprite?
Yeah, like a sprite. Yeah, very much like a sprite. And they're real in the sense that you really do feel the difference being at a spring or by the ocean.
Yeah, there's a certain presence, and it's the presence of it, not the literal necessarily, but
That's right.
there's something that calls you to go there every time. Like
Exactly.
like for me, if I go, if there's a fire pit or a fireplace, there's something that calls me. I don't know if it's a nymph or a sprite but there's something that's, we're talking about stirring your soul, or
Yes, exactly.
that brings it, makes it home. It not only brings it home, it makes it home. And, I don't even know why I mention it, but, when you see what's happening now in the Ukraine, how do they find home now when all these people, but hopefully there's some hope in nature, and hopefully, they live to tell the tale. But I think that's part of the spring, the part of the hope that's there.
Yes.
And if you can kind of hold on literally each year to get through, but in a bigger picture, that maybe that's where there's a little bit shred of hope in all this. Absolutely.
Yes, that's right. And when you think about this, the way you were describing what's happening during this war is an incredible devastation of all, not only of useful things and houses, but the home, the spirit of home, the spirit of nature, the cultural spirits that cities have, special places, special buildings. These are being destroyed. So it's not that just literal things are being destroyed by these bombs and attacks, but the whole spirit that sustains the people is being destroyed and will have to be rediscovered and refound. But some can't be because they're ancient and old and revered. And so the idea of war, when you think of it that way, it's absolutely devastating to think of, and beyond belief, beyond understanding.
Right. So not to belittle it at all, but you bring it back to spring, or to May, month of May. There's hope. I think hope's, what's that? Oh, you'll know better than me. I know the phrase "hope springs eternal," but the springs bring hope, or something like that. Or
I don't know the second part of that.
No, I was just inventing it. Does the inverse, if hope springs eternal, does spring invoke hope?
Yes, it does, certainly. The fact that the flowers have come back is the great miracle. I mean, it's a great miracle. And really, when you think about it, you see the earth, just everything, all the color disappears and all the beauty and freshness. There's a beauty to winter, but it disappears. And then just over time, when you maybe least expect it, it all comes back within a short time, and you're in a different world. You're in a very different world. So that's great hope. And I think applying it to the war, there could be other things as well, that this is terrible and devastating. And things have been destroyed that will never be able to be restored. But human life can come back just like the flowers do at spring. It can come back with its beauty.
Right. Wow. That's hopeful in all this, but it's also, and it's part of the ritual. And that's why rituals endure. When they endure for just that reason.
Yes.
Wow. So, all right. So the month, so spring, it's hope, it's emerging after the winter, it's appearing. What do you mean by reappearing? Like the flowers reappearing, or?
Well, there's what I'm saying is that in winter, depending where you live, of course, some places are different from others, but where I live in the kind of the north, in New England, um, in winter, all that color and all that beauty of all the green and all the colors of the plants and flowering, they go away. So you end up with a landscape that is almost monotone, monochrome. You just to see, you don't see a lot of color, and the skies tend to be gray. And so the whole landscape is twilight like. But then in May, you see the trees, the buds, and you see a slight sign of hope that it might turn green again and that the flowers will come. There's no absolute guarantee that that will happen because we have the power to destroy the planet. We could stop that from happening. But so far, we're being able to be here and watch nature return. And that's the lesson for us. The nature is teaching us, showing us certain truths about life on the planet. And one of them is that in this part of the world that we are living in the springtime, especially in May, the green returns, which is the color of Venus, and flowers return. So that spirit, the sprite you called her, Flora, is doing her work again and bringing you flowers. See, the Greeks and other peoples, and I think the Native Americans as well, when they felt the spirit, these things happening, they imagined the spirit as having a body, and not a literal body, but they kind of gave them human bodies just to be able to relate to them and picture them. So they would call these the flowers appearing, they'd say this is the work of Flora. But the sprite, the spirit, the nymph, Flora. And people, if they ask me, they say, do you really believe in nymphs? I say, well, I don't believe in them, but I think they're real. The nymphs are real because I know it when I see the flowers come. That is the work of, there's a spirit there that I can feel and sense, and it changes my life. That's real. So I'd like to give a name to it, at least.
That's a good place to kind of start to close out this. That's beautiful. So this is a random thought, and then we can move on. So does that have anything to do if someone has a car, right? And they give it a name, or they kind of is that the word? But it's like by giving it a name, you make it real, you bring it into your life. By giving it a body, you can, is related, or am I just totally out of?
No, it's related. It's very related. Because when you have a car, it may seem absurd to other people, but the car is like another person to you. Maybe, not necessarily. For some people, it's just a machine to get them somewhere. For somebody else, it has its own spirit and its beauty and its personality. And they have a close relationship with it. And so it's very natural to give a name to anything that has personhood. And things can have personhood, not just people. Things can have personhood. So can places can have personhood. And a house. I always like when I go to Ireland, where I go quite frequently, for an address for sending your mail, and many, many, many places, maybe most places of Ireland, the postman has a name for a house. He doesn't have a number. He has a name. The houses are named. And that creates such a difference from us. We number our houses, but we number everything. And we take the heart and soul out of them by numbering them. What if you numbered your friends? Number 12 is coming over for dinner tonight.
Exactly, exactly. Wow, naming your houses. That's I think that's pretty good. All right. Any final words, or how can people find you?
People can find me at my website, which is under construction at the moment. It's thomasmoresoul.com. Thomas More, that's with two O's, thomasmoresoul.com.
Wonderful. So I just want to say a big a word of thanks and gratitude to have these our kind of like our spring semester. You know, each month has built on each other, and yeah, my name is Steve Stein, and this is Wisdom Feed Plus, and we're really honored to have our friend Thomas More here, and we'll see you next time. Thanks so much, Thomas.
Thank you.